For strangers. One room. One take. The label said, no a cappella. Radio said, play it again. They called it En Vogue. Fashion in the name, architecture in the harmony. Every voice a lead. Every chorus a decision. From a Richmond studio to the top of the Hot 100's doorstep. From black gowns on a bare set to runways and arenas. From you'll never get it swagger to an anti-prejudice manifesto that shook television. But blueprints crack under pressure. Contracts. Credits. Who owns the marquee when the sound belongs to everyone?
Never get it. I remember how it...
Hey, that's my part.
And then, against the odds, the frame holds. New voices in the mix, old sparks on the stage. A 5-woman tableau in 2019 that said the quiet part out loud. This was never just hits. It was a standard. This is how 4 timbres became one instrument. How Oakland schematics rebuilt pop. How a cappella nerve turned into platinum gravity. This is En Vogue. And this is where the harmony started.
I'm giving him something he can feel.
Oakland, California. Late 1980s. On an ordinary weekday, 2 producer-songwriters are sketching a not-so-ordinary idea. Denzel Foster and Thomas McElroy, fresh from Bay Area hit factories, have already watched their work travel from local radio to the national charts. As members of the team around Timex social clubs, rumors, they'd helped push a gossip-fueled groove to number 8 on the Hot 100 in 1986. A year later, their Club Nouveau cohort took a go-go charge to Lean on Me, all the way to number 1. So successful that it earned Bill Withers the Grammy for Best R&B Song as its writer. Their next blueprint, a modern girl group that could fuse 1960s vocal elegance to new jack swing precision. The call goes out across the bay. 3,000 women, amateurs, veterans, church-trained belters, pass through hotel ballrooms and small studios. Foster and McElroy's concept is clinical and romantic at once. Interchangeable leads, not a single Diana. Beauty, but not cookie-cutter. 4-part blend when needed, but every member able to front a record. The plan starts as a trio. Then the room shifts. Voices align like a single instrument. Cindy Herron's burnished clarity, Maxine Jones's grain, Don Robinson's cut, and the poised, incisive soprano of Terry Ellis, who makes such an impression, despite arriving late from Houston, that the trio idea dissolves on contact. Quartet. Period. Names are tried on like outfits. For you. Vogue. The last one collides with a prior claim. Legal counsel suggests a pivot. En Vogue. 2 words, French-tipped. The fashion metaphor baked into the brand. They sign a production deal and get to work. What they record first isn't a hit single or even a B-side. It's an audition piece the producers weaponize. Waitin' on You. Foster makes a high-wire demand. Sing it live, essentially one take. The pressure is the point. If 4 strangers can lock like this in a room, the record will take care of itself. The take is so good they issue it twice. First on the producer's 1989 compilation FM Superscript 2. Then again on En Vogue's debut. It's not folklore, it's on tape. The studios tell a story. Richmond's starlight sound, more grit than sheen, keeps them close to home. Live Oak, across the water in Berkeley, reinforces the Bay DNA. The Can-Am facility down in Tarzana supplies the uptown polish new jack swing demands. It's a geographic recipe for what the producers always wanted. Motown's architecture rebuilt with late 80s drum programming and R&B radio instincts. We recorded our first hit in a Richmond studio. Foster and McElroy had the idea to put in a cappella, Who's Lovin' You up front. The label hated it. Hated it, as in, radio won't play in a cappella intro. Atlantic initially pushes a version of Hold On, without that dramatic opening. A Smokey Robinson standard rearranged for 4 voices. Terry and Cindy carrying lead while Maxine and Dawn hold a velvet frame. Then DJs start spinning the full take. The version with the cold open a cappella, and the phones light up. The audience picks the single for them. Decades later, the group would retell the same story on daytime TV. The detail holds up. April 3rd, 1990. Born to Sing drops. Hold On is already doing reconnaissance on radio, building club momentum, crossing formats. The record opens with silence and breath. No drums, no bass line. No drums, no bass line. Just four women delivering a Motown lament. Then, impact, New Jack Swing arrives in widescreen. Within weeks, Hold On is #2 on the Hot 100, and a cluster of Billboard charts belong to them. The debut album climbs to #21 on the 200, #3 R&B, and ultimately ships 3 times platinum in the US. The blueprint works. The image matches the name: black dresses, minimalist set, sleek geometry. Editorial but tough, runway clean but rooted in church harmony. If you look closely at the early run, you can see a few other decisions that made the machine hum. First, Foster and McElroy's casting premise, "anyone can sing lead," wasn't a slogan. It was the operating system. It let them write arrangements with moving centers of gravity. A Terry line here, a Dawn flare there, Cindy's bell tone on top, Maxine's alto threading the pocket. That fluidity gives Born to sing an elastic confidence. They could be the Supremes or the Ronettes, and then suddenly, something no 60s group could be. For leads at once, over late 80s swing. Second, they debut as fully formed personalities without sacrificing blend. Those little skits and asides on Born to Sing, Party, Up Front, conversational tags between songs aren't throwaways, they're strategy. The album introduces 4 distinct women and then instantly erases the borders when the harmony arrives. That balance, personality plus blend, was the hinge between fashion editorial and soul quartet. Third, the image wasn't pasted on after the music. It was written into the arrangements. Before the Diet Coke commercial and the magazine covers. Did you know that only 1% of the people who watch World Stories and documentary are actually subscribed? That means most viewers are exploring history's greatest moments, the rise and fall of empires, and the untold stories of our world, but without staying for what's coming next. Subscribing costs nothing, yet it ensures you never miss the next journey across civilizations, the next forgotten legend, or the next true story that still shapes the present. On this channel, every video is a ticket into the past, crafted to inform, inspire, and sometimes even warn us about the future. If you've ever finished one of our documentaries and felt you learned something new, then subscribing is the smartest way to keep traveling with us. Be part of the 1% who go deeper. Tap subscribe now, and let's explore the world's stories together. The branding lived in how they sounded. A cappella gospel into radio hard swing. Classic girl group silhouettes over 808 era rhythm programs. That's why the a cappella intro fight mattered. If the first sound you heard from En Vogue was 4 unaccompanied voices, you understood the proposition before the beat even landed. In the Bay, the pride is local. But nationally, programmers are hearing something clean enough for pop and heavy enough for R&B clubs. Hold On ends 1990 as the year's top R&B single in Billboard's ledger. The album spins off more #1s on the R&B chart, Lies, You Don't Have to Worry, and secures a Grammy nomination while the quartet is still learning how to sleep on a tour bus. The lesser-known tape that tells you who they were is still waiting on you. Ask Denzel Foster, and he'll say the version you know is basically the audition. Almost one take, the pressure real, the blend undeniable. That's the origin story, hiding in plain sight on side 2. For voices, 1 instrument, Motown memory, Oakland muscle. Chapter 1 closes with a thesis statement sung a cappella. If you can hold the room with breath and blend, the beat is a bonus. The Funky Divas are born. The second act is velocity. It's 1992, and Funky Divas doesn't just arrive, it struts. A runway show with muscle. My lovin', you're never gonna get it. Giving him something he can feel, and free your mind. The album opens top 10 on the Billboard 200, #1 on the R&B albums chart, and ultimately goes 3 times platinum. Proof that Foster and McElroy's blueprint can dominate radio, MTV, and the culture all at once. The first punch lands with My Lovin', You're Never Gonna Get It. A James Brown The Payback guitar loop locked into a hip-swinging, shoulder-rolling pocket, elegance with edges. Foster and McElroy talk about the song as a studio puzzle that only clicked after multiple rewrites. The single was famously one of the last things cut for the album, which is partly why it dropped so close to release. We had versions that didn't quite snap, then the groove arrived, and suddenly everything around it, those harmonies, that attitude, made sense. Matthew Ralston's video sealed the iconography, sculptural lighting, razor choreography, a kinetic catwalk for 4 leads who could all sing lead. It took home MTV's Best Choreography. Then the pivot, Silk over Steel. En Vogue reimagines Curtis Mayfield's Something He Can Feel as a slow-burn stage piece. Ruby gowns, spotlight intimacy, and dawn out front while the trio braid those satin harmonies behind her. The cover goes top 10 pop and returns the song to #1 on the R&B chart, 15 years after its first ring. If My Lovin' is the wink and Something He Can Feel the swoon, Free Your Mind is the raised fist. Mark Romanek shoots a runway as battlefield. Metal lick guitars, militant silhouettes, choreography drilled like a cadence call. The lyric opens with a flip of an in living color gag. Prejudice wrote a song about it. Like to hear it? Here it go. Before the quartet detonates a hook that makes rock radio and R&B reconsider their borders. The slashing guitar and bass figure comes from Bay Area ace Jinx Jones. Tracked to feel confrontational and undeniably danceable. Funk rock engineered for mass TV. The result becomes an era-defining performance piece, sweeping 3 MTV VMAs in 1993. Best R&B Video, Best Dance Video, Best Choreography, and locking En Vogue's rep for vocal power with cultural teeth. The mainstream isn't just listening, it's looking. A national Diet Coke campaign, directed by Spike Lee, projects En Vogue's sleek minimalism into living rooms between sitcoms and sports. The slogan is literal. They're en vogue, turning the group's name into an aesthetic directive. Outside their own records, the moment multiplies. Salt and Pepper Tap, En Vogue for Whatta Man. The single rockets to #3 on the Hot 100 and becomes a permanent club staple. Hip-hop's house party handed 4 microphones for the chorus. By the winter of 1996, En Vogue aren't just a great R&B group, they're a proven machine. And then comes the record that levels them up from hitmakers to movie song immortals. Don't Let Go, Love. Cut for F. Gary Gray's heist drama set it off. It lands like a flare over the skyline. Aching, adult, impeccably sung, and climbs to #2 on the Billboard Hot 100 with platinum sales. And top 10 runs across multiple countries. It's their biggest single. The story behind the song is the kind that only happens when the right ears collide. Songwriters Andrea Martin and Ivan Matthias, with Marquise Etheridge and Organized Noise, sketch a power ballad that originally, believe it or not, was floated toward a rock act. Label chief Sylvia Rhone hears the demo and insists, this belongs to En Vogue. They cut it with Organized Noise, the Atlanta trio then fresh off reshaping pop with TLC's Waterfalls. Suddenly the Dungeon Family's live band. R&B futurism meets Oakland's 4-voice architecture. That chemistry is the record. We didn't see it at first, Sylvia did. We went in, built the vocal like a skyscraper. And everything snapped into place. Put a pin in the vocal. Dawn Robinson carries the principal lead, gliding from Flint to Velvet. While Maxine Jones drives the bridge, and Cindy Herron threads a verse-to-bridge passage. The harmonies are armored yet yielding. Matthew Ralston directs the video, credited cheekily under the Alan Smithy pseudonym, into 2 cuts. The original intercut with Set It Off, and an alternate New York storyline co-starring Mekhi Phifer. The single lives on radio. The video lives on MTV and BET. Context matters. Set It Off centers 4 black women. Jada Pinkett Smith, Queen Latifah, Vivica A. Fox, Kimberly Elise, pushing back against a rigged world. The song's plea, Don't Let Go, becomes a cinematic chorus for desire, agency, and survival. The soundtrack soars alongside the film.
Heartbreaking, soul shake, control. Don't let go.
And En Vogue's cut is the crown jewel, canonized among the top movie songs with a Hot 100 peak at #2 for 4 weeks. Momentum like that drags a whole album into orbit. In June 1997, EV3 debuts #8 on the Billboard 200. The group's highest first week yet, 76,500 copies, and quickly goes platinum. It's also their most collaborative studio set. Alongside founders Foster and McElroy, you see Babyface, David Foster, Diane Warren, Andrea Martin, and Ivan Matthias in the credits. In other words, En Vogue's sound has become a magnet for A-list pop craftsmanship. The sound of the record is grown woman pop, sleek ballads that refuse softness, mid-tempos with a stalking confidence, harmonies engineered like carbon fiber. If the early 90s blueprint was retro girl group elegance over new jack swing, EV3 is adult contemporary power and R&B muscle in couture tailoring. After Don't Let Go, the single that has to follow can't be a shadow. Enter Whatever, written and produced by Babyface. With Keith Andes and Giuliano Franco, a slinky, side-eye funk groove that leans on rhythmic minimalism and razor-clean stacks. It moves with the confidence of a group who knows the mic is theirs. Hot 100 number 16, RIA Gold. Ralston turns the camera into a critique, a horror salon fantasia where beauty techs in orange scrubs poke, prod, measure, and perfect. The trio, Cindy, Terry, Maxine, sing through whitening masks and micrometers. Like a glossy fever dream about image and control. Critics clock the provocation, some fans bristle. Either way, the point lands. En Vogue aren't just in fashion, they're interrogating it. To close the EV3 single arc, they swing wide. Too Gone, Too Long, a Diane Warren composition produced by David Foster.
You want my love back? Why'd you let it slip away?
The same pop orchestral axis that minted hits for Celine and Whitney. It peaks number 33 Hot 100, becomes a top 20 UK entry, and proves En Vogue can shoulder the biggest, glossiest pop frameworks without losing their identity. One of the lesser-told EV3 truths. Its polish was forged through pressure. Between the soundtrack's smash and the album's drop, the lineup wobbled. Dawn Robinson's impending solo move forced last-minute re-vocals on several tracks. The seams don't show because the architecture holds. Arrangements written so any of the women could carry lead, and the blend would still feel inevitable. That modular design, conceived back in Oakland, is what lets EV3 arrive seamless on release day. Another footnote with Wait, Don't Let Go, Love, not only put the album in motion, it pulled the group back into the studio because it was taking off. Rhone's directive, capitalize, now, is why EV3 captures a unique double exposure. The last recording phase with Dawn in the frame, and the first with the wider pop hit apparatus fully engaged. Dungeon family vets recall Rico Wade hearing En Vogue on that melody first, an instinct that overruled skepticism in the room. It's a tiny decision that changed a career arc. Step back and skim the charts. R&B is splitting, neo-soul ascends on one side, Max Martin-scale pop on the other. Hip-hop saturates everything. In that cross-current, En Vogue still cut through, grown woman soul that could live on urban AC, top 40. And the still surging shadow of Don't Let Go, Love. The broader impact? A bridge. Organized noise give the track. Live band heft and southern futurism. En Vogue supply a level of vocal exactitude that pop radio rarely gets in that dosage. The collaboration anticipates a late 90s moment when R&B balladry and hip-hop production would become a default mainstream language. Waterfalls to Don't Let Go, that's a lineage, not a coincidence. In this era, En Vogue stops being a clever moniker and becomes an operating system. The Ralston clips, From My Lovin' to Whatever, codify a visual grammar, editorial lighting, minimal sets, maximal attitude. While the group's styling evolves from retro silhouettes to unapologetic adult glamour. Even when the Whatever video unsettles, it reads like a thesis. These faces are constructed in media, and En Vogue is audacious enough to show you the scaffolding. 1996 to 97 is the chart's summit and the artistic hinge. Don't Let Go, Love crowns the decade's most immaculate vocal group with a film song classic. EV3 proves the machine can scale to pop's tallest architecture, Babyface, Foster/Warren, Dungeon family, without losing the soul engineered in Oakland. The next chapter will test that architecture under pressure. But for now, at the peak, En Vogue sound like the future deciding to hold a note. Behind the plaques and telecasts, fault lines. Money, control, authorship, classic 90s R&B pressure points. In spring 1997, as EV3 nears the finish line, Dawn Robinson exits. Contracts stall, a solo deal beckons. The remaining three, Cindy Herron, Terry Ellis, Maxine Jones, hustled back into the booth to recut several of Dawn's leads. Some of her vocals remain, most of her background stay. EV3 still bows big. Top 10 on the Billboard 200, ultimately platinum. But the chemistry has shifted, and everyone can hear it. The next years are an attrition test. Maxine Jones leaves in 2001. A capable Amanda Cole fills the fourth mic briefly. Then Rhona Bennett arrives in 2003, anchoring the Soulflower era as the founders try to right the ship. The brand holds, barely, but the revolving door keeps turning. Nostalgia keeps calling. In 2008, the original four reunite, but only in moments. A BET Awards medley where Alicia Keys brings out SWV, En Vogue, and TLC in a generational handoff. The ovation confirms the legacy. The logistics still won't stick. Here's what the cameras didn't show. The operating agreement behind En Vogue's business had to catch up to the brand's fame. After the 90s run, touring lineups, managers, and short-term deals layered confusion on top of success. By 2011 to 2012, parallel entities and competing plans collide. Herron and Ellis formalize control through En Vogue Enterprises, LLC. Jones and Robinson explore alternatives, including a brief heirs to the throne project and the use of the En Vogue name in bookings. That last part becomes the fuse. In 2012 to 2013, the dispute goes to court. Herron and Ellis sue over unauthorized use of the En Vogue name, seeking an injunction and, initially, damages. The judge sides with Herron and Ellis on name rights. They hold the LLC and therefore the marquee, but declines monetary damages. The ruling clarifies who can tour as En Vogue. It does not erase the history that got them there. Jones files an appeal. It doesn't change the outcome. The headlines keep coming. In 2015, Ruffdown Entertainment sues Herron and Ellis for more than $300 million, alleging breach after they signed a new deal while a comeback agreement with Ruffdown languished. Trade coverage quotes advances and deliverables. The case underscores how, in legacy acts, paperwork can trail momentum by years. The dispute later settles. Ruffdown issues a stopgap EP with vault material. The public sees two realities at once. On one side, Herron, Ellis, Bennett hardened into a tour-ready trio, building a steady calendar and a through line of three-part leads, an echo of the original design where anyone can front a song. On the other, Jones and Robinson orbit the brand through limited projects and short-lived ventures, barred from the official name per the court order. The end result is clarity for buyers and fans, whatever the behind-the-scenes feelings might be. In the late 90s and 2000s, R&B fragmented, neo-soul one way, pop EDM another, hip-hop everywhere, and the market punished acts who couldn't split themselves along those seams. En Vogue's calling card, 4 interchangeable leads with airtight blend, was a gift on record and a challenge in boardrooms, where one face is easier to license, to bill, to bet on. The legal fights weren't just personal. They were structural. Who owns the marquee when the act is engineered for shared authorship? Even so, the work keeps landing. In 2014, the trio headlines a Lifetime movie, an En Vogue Christmas, playing with their own history on screen and reminding casual viewers what the blend actually sounds like.
Show I ever saw was En Vogue at Christmas.
Merry Christmas to each one of you.
Then, quietly, steadily, they make a real studio return. Electric Cafe, 2018, brings founders Foster and McElroy back into the fold, folds in Raphael Sadiq and Dem joints, and spins off Rocket, a sleek mid-tempo that becomes their first adult R&B top 10 in over 20 years. Critics call the album vibrant, ambitious, surprisingly steady, not a nostalgia cash-in, a line drawn forward. These were the worst years only in the sense that documents outshouted melodies. But on stage, the proposition held 3, and sometimes 4, voices moving as one. The Oakland architecture surviving management churn, courtrooms, and a changing radio dial. The name on the marquee became a legal question. The sound behind it remained the answer. Legacies aren't eulogies. They're living rooms you keep redesigning. In October 2019, a rare tableau settles into focus at the City of Hope's Spirit of Life Gala 4. Sylvia Rhone, Cindy Herron, Terry Ellis, Maxine Jones, Dawn Robinson, and Rhona Bennett share the stage, and hashtag EV5 moment that folds 3 decades of harmony and hurt into one frame. A reunited En Vogue closes the night as a tribute to the executive who championed their era. It isn't nostalgia, it's proof of concept, architecture that still stands under modern load. The working blueprint today is stable and lean. Cindy, Terry, Rhona. The trio spins the late 2010s retooling for contemporary radio and the festival circuit. Rocket, pinned by Neo, glides into the Billboard Adult R&B Top 10, En Vogue's first Top 10 airplay hit in more than 20 years. While the album Electric Cafe updates their palette without sanding off the harmonies. It's not a comeback single so much as a continuity clause. Their cultural wattage stays bright because the message still lands. In 2020, they closed the Billboard Music Awards with a serrated, vote-studded Free Your Mind, the same anti-prejudice manifesto that tore across 1992 now detonated for a new news cycle. The performance is a broadcast reminder that En Vogue never just harmonized, they editorialized. Funky Divas remains the syllabus example for how R&B elegance can flank rock guitar and win on television, radio, and runway. Free Your Mind regularly appears on greatest songs lists, a shorthand citation professors and producers alike pull when they teach. Message records that still move. And the work continues to circulate in mass culture, tour posters, playlist algorithms, and show bills. In 2022, they're back in North American arenas via New Kids on the Block's mixtape tour, a cross-generational victory lap that positions En Vogue as both memory and momentum on the same stage. The booking isn't retro. It's recognition that few groups can still sell a hook and a point of view at scale. The ledger of recognition is stubbornly favorable. Industry histories repeatedly slot En Vogue among the most successful girl groups ever. The numbers and the awards are easy to tally, but the more interesting dividend is stylistic. The way modern vocal groups articulate blend, stacked triads with a floating lead, owes a debt to the Foster and McElroy chassis these 4 voices first drove. In classrooms and think pieces, Free Your Mind persists as a case study. A pop single that made structural prejudice dance floor legible without dimming musicality. The track's award history and canonical placement keep it in rotation. Anytime culture studies needs a sharp, accessible text, one that teaches how groove can carry argument. So there is no death chapter. En Vogue's line continues. Tour buses idling, in-ears warming, mic stands taped where 4 silhouettes once stood and 3 still do. From Oakland schematics to global stages, they proved harmony is architecture. For timbers laid like beams, melody is glass and steel. Trends bend, hooks fade. But when those voices stack, the room still stands at attention.